it's Kristen and this is a charity shop book haul. So this book haul is like the remnants of 2023 last year. So for anyone who's worried about my 2024 goals of like not buying as many books, these books don't count. These are ones I accumulated from like end of summer, autumn, winter of 2023, all from charity shops, but I just never got around to hauling them until now. So these aren't necessarily in any order. I lost track of what order I like bought them in, if I'm totally honest. They've been sitting on the bottom of my bookshelves for ages, just waiting to be hauled. So I'm finally doing it, so they can go on my TBR shelf, and that's that. So yeah, all of these were bought in various charity shops. There are quite a few books here, but I'm not gonna begrudge it because I found some really good things. Some things I've been on the lookout for quite a long time. Some things that will like continue series, and all the money I spent went to charity. So justifying it. So first up we have The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. I have actually read this one before, but I read my mum's like massive copy that she has, and it has been about 10 years since I read it, and I've been wanting to reread it because I really liked it. I remember crying a lot when I read it, and I wanted to give this a reread. So I saw it in really good condition in the charity shop, so I went ahead and bought it. This is a story set during World War II, but the book is narrated by Death, and it follows this young girl who's taken in by this family, and the friends she makes, the people she comes to care for, and yeah, just in this wartime story, very affecting, very heartfelt. I wanted to give this one a reread. I feel like this is very famous. People know about this book. Next we have The Trial of Lotta Ray by Siobhan McGowan. I saw this one a lot in shops when it came out, and then I found it in a charity shop, and so was like, oh, I was always interested in reading that, wondered like what it was really about, so now's the time to pick it up. So this says, on Halloween night in 1906, young working class Lotta Ray is attacked by a wealthy gentleman. She seeks justice at an Old Bailey trial alongside her barrister, William Linden, who she believes to be her ally. The verdict is devastating, and Lotta Ray soon realises the guardians of justice do not support her. But what none could foresee were the shocking consequences. 12 years later, as the suffragettes rise and the ghost of World War One looms large over London, William is joined again by Lotta Ray. Now they will travel to a fateful destination where truths must be faced and wrongs will be righted. So this sounds very intense, but I do like a historical fiction. I think been getting like more into historical fiction again in recent years, and I mean things like this will make me very angry, but reading about like women's lives and justice is something that it always interests me. So I think I'll have to find the right time to read this, because yeah, I think it will be quite intense. Then we have Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. I heard Emma from Drinking by My Shelf, that old channel now, talking about this ages ago in a vlog, and thought it sounded really interesting, and then I saw it in a charity shop and I thought I'd pick it up. So this says, what if you had the chance to live your life again and again until you finally got it right? So we follow our main character, who I believe is born, lives their life, and then every time they die, they just sort of reset. And it's about like living various versions of their life. Do they right wrongs from the past? Do they just do things differently? And that just sounded really intriguing, and I've not read much like that. So yeah, I was intrigued by this one. Next, we have Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. This one was in a deal. The charity shop was doing a buy a paperback, get one free, and I saw a book that I thought my dad would be interested in. And the woman at the counter was like, just grab another book. And so I then felt pressure. So I grabbed this one because I've never read Treasure Island, and I like pirate stories. I love the show Black Sails, which essentially is a prequel to Treasure Island. So I want to read this one. So we have Jim Hawkins, who's this young lad who comes across a treasure map, and he's not the only one who knows of the map's existence, so he goes on this adventure and gets pulled into this world of treasure and pirates and intrigue. So yeah, I want to finally read it because I've like seen adaptations. I've seen, like I said, Black Sails prequel. I've seen Treasure Planet, which is the Disney like sci-fi version of this. But to actually read the source material, I think will be good, and you know, read about these iconic characters like Jim Hawkins and Long John Silver. So I'm excited to get to this one. And this actually works well with my goal of reading more classics this year. So that was a good find. Then this next set of books I think is one of the best finds of last year. And I found the complete trilogy of Lord of the Rings in these lovely little covers. So we've got The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King, all by J.R.R. Tolkien. So these are like sort of mass market paperbacks, which doesn't massively bother me. The first one's quite creased in the spine, but the other two are like perfect condition. So I thought these were just such a great find. And yeah, I got the whole trilogy for less than a fiver. So I was very happy with these. Obviously, a lot of people know the story. We have Frodo, who discovers that he has the One Ring in his family, and so he and wizard called Gandalf and Frodo's hobbit friends and other allies they find along the way go to destroy the One Ring and aim to sort of save the world, essentially. And there's fights and villains and such along the way. I've seen the films. I love the films, but I've never read the source material. I've read The Hobbit, but I've never read the Lord of the Rings series. So that is potentially one to get through sometime in the future. I'm excited. Next up we have Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the sequel companion to Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And there's another one after that with the other Brown sister. So I own the first book and wanted to get the others, and then spotted this in literally perfect condition and a really nice floppy paperback. So what a great find. This says Danica Brown knows what she wants: professional success, academic renown, and an occasional roll in the hay to relieve all her career-driven tension. But romance, been there, done that, burn the t-shirt. So Dani asks the universe for the perfect friends with benefits. When brooding security guard Zafir Ansari rescues her from a workplace fire drill gone wrong, it's an obvious sign. PhD student Dani and ex-rugby player Zaf are destined to sleep together. But before she can explain that fact, a video of the heroic rescue goes viral. Now half the internet is shipping them, and Zaf is begging Dani to play along. Dani's plan is simple: fake a relationship in public, seduce Zaf behind the scenes. But grumpy Zaf is secretly a romantic, and he's determined to corrupt Dani's stone-cold realism. With every fake date and midnight meeting, Dani's easy lay becomes more complex than her thesis. Has her wish backfired? Or is the universe waiting for her to take a hint? This just sounds cute. I've been getting more into romance in recent years, especially last year, and so I'm glad I had such a good find. After that, we have The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley Heller. This is one that I don't really think sounds like a me book on the surface, but when I heard someone talk about it and describe it, I think it was like on a Bookish podcast, I was just really intrigued by it. And then I was like, do I buy it full price from a shop? What if I don't like it? And then I let time go by, and I saw quite a few copies here and there in charity shops, but they were always like quite beat up, and I don't mind like a crease in the spine or a bit of yellow pages, but generally I don't like to have really beat up copies of things, but I'd seen this a lot in charity shops, so I was like, I'm sure one day I'll find like a good version of it. And this one I then found perfect condition, so I was so pleased I'd waited to get it, because this is a lovely undented, uncreased copy. I just love the cover and the colours. It's great. Okay, this is why this does and doesn't sound like a me book. So it says, on a perfect August morning, Elle Bishop heads out for a swim in the pond below the Paper Palace, her family's holiday home in Cape Cod. As she dives beneath the water, she relives the passionate encounter she had the night before against the side of the house that knows all her darkest secrets, while her husband and mother chatted to their guests inside. So begins a story that unfolds over 24 hours and 50 years as Elle's shocking betrayal leads her to a decision that will change her life forever. So it doesn't sound like a me book in that I don't love cheating affair storylines, like generally. But I do for the drama. Because I say that, and yet Conversations with Friends, which essentially is just about an affair, is one of my favourite books of recent years. And so I thought maybe I would like this. I don't know. My logic was a little all over the place. But yeah, there was just something about it that intrigued me, and the fact that it's like a story that unfolds over 24 hours and 50 years really means that there's going to be like a lot of tangled history, relationship, drama, but also within like a tight time frame. Yeah, I just thought it sounded interesting, and if I don't like it, I bought it in a charity shop, so it was cheap. But yeah, I am interested to see what I do think about it. So we have that one. Then I saw this. I just picked it up without really knowing anything about it because I'd never heard of it. And that's Witches, Sluts, Feminists by Kristen J. Soleil. First of all, that's my name, Kristen. Second of all, I like all these things. I was intrigued. I saw the word feminists and I was like, what's that? I saw the word witches. I was like, I saw the word sluts and I was sold. I love talking about and reading about portrayals of women in society, in media, the way that women are seen, and relating to specific topics, like this says conjuring the sex positive, and obviously with the word sluts in there, it's going to be talking about sexuality and things. So the back says, witch, slut, feminist, these contested identities are informing millennial women as they counter a torturous history of misogyny with empowerment. This innovative primer highlights sexual liberation as it traces the lineage of witch feminism, juxtaposing scholarly research on the demonization of women and female sexuality that has continued since the witch hunts of the early modern era, with pop culture analyses and interviews with activists, artists, scholars, and practitioners of witchcraft. This book greatly enriches our conversations about reproductive rights, sexual pleasure, queer identity, pornography, sex work, and more. That just sounds so interesting to me. This is like my perfect topic. Like witchy stuff, sexual liberation, the like reproductive rights, queer identity, and all under the sort of lens of feminism. Oh, I'm so excited to read this. I'm hoping it will be good. But yes, that was like a great random find in a charity shop. Next we have Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. This I bought years ago for a friend, and I wasn't seeing her for like a little while, and I thought maybe I'll read it before I actually give it to her. And I started it and I was really enjoying it, and then I ran out of time to read it before I had to give it to her. So I just never finished it, and I was always like, I'll get it from the library one day. I never got around to it, and then I saw it in a charity shop, and I was like, you know what? If I own it, I will read it at some point. Like, it might not be for a little while, but I will read it. Whereas if I always just go, I'll get it from the library, I could put that off forever. So this centers around a Chinese American family living in a small town in Ohio in the 70s. And it says, Lydia is the favourite child of Marilyn and James Lee, and her parents are determined she will fulfill the dreams they were unable to pursue. But when Lydia's body is found in the local lake, the delicate balancing act that has been keeping the Lee family together is destroyed, tumbling them all into chaos. This just sounded really interesting to me. Like I said, I started it and was enjoying it, so I wanted to read the rest of it. I never got to the point where the body was found. I was only in the early pages, but was still intrigued. And yeah, I'm interested in, like, it's not a thriller, but it's like a thrilling sort of sad thing that we then see processed through like a family dynamic, and that really intrigues me. So I thought I'd pick this up and get to it. Next we have 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. This is one I almost bought several times when I've seen it online, and then never did. After hearing it talked about on a podcast, it sounded really interesting, but I just never took that plunge with it. And then I saw it again, like perfect condition in a charity shop, and so it was like fate. So this one, I'm a little bit hesitant about. This one is not going to be for everyone because it's a COVID novel. It's set during COVID, like height of COVID. So it says, 56 days ago, Chiara and Oliver meet in a supermarket queue in Dublin and start dating the same week COVID-19 reaches Irish shores. 35 days ago, when lockdown threatens to keep them apart, Oliver suggests they move in together. Chiara sees a unique opportunity for a relationship to flourish without the scrutiny of family and friends. Oliver sees a chance to hide who and what he really is. Today, detectives arrive at Oliver's apartment to discover a decomposing body inside. Can they determine what really happened, or has lockdown created an opportunity for someone to commit the perfect crime? The premise of this sounds so interesting to me. The idea of being quarantined together, and then within those like small amount of days in the grand scope of things, like someone dying because of something that happened just sounded so interesting. I'm pretty sure the author was on like the one of the bookish podcasts I listened to, What Page Are You On, and they interviewed her, and she talked about being sort of stuck in a writing rut and then thinking that she just needed to write about something that was relevant to life at the time, and so came up with the COVID novel. I have not read a book yet that talks about COVID. This might be the first book I read that actually is fully like, COVID's a thing. And I don't know how I feel about that, and I will, I guess, find out when reading it. I'm intrigued by this. I understand that some people would just be like, even if that sounds interesting, absolutely not going there. COVID just is not something they want to relive, even through fiction. And I totally respect that. The setup sounded interesting to me, so I thought I'd give it a go. Next up, continuing with a crime theme, we have The Appeal by Janice Hallett. Again, this is one that I saw a lot in charity shops, but all the copies I saw weren't in great condition. But this one has no creases in the spine. It's got some coffee stains on the front, and a terribly pulled off like sticky label, so I just need to give it a bit of a wipe and then I think it'll be fine. But this I've heard a lot about. I feel like a lot of people have heard of it. It's a crime mystery set in a small town, but the whole thing is told in like emails, which intrigues me. And I love a book that has like emails and text messages and things throughout. So I'm wondering if it'll just be really quick to read as well. So yeah, we have a mystery to solve in the small town of Lockwood. Starts with the arrival of two secretive newcomers and ends with a tragic death. Roderick Tanner QC has assigned law students Charlotte and Femi to the case. Someone has already been sent to prison for murder, but he suspects they are innocent and that far darker secrets have yet to be revealed. Throughout the Amateur Dramatic Society's disastrous staging of All My Sons and the shady charity appeal for a little girl's medical treatment, the murderer hid in plain sight. Will Charlotte and Femi solve the case? And will you? This just, yeah, sounds great, because obviously if it's all through like emails and letters and things like that, you're sort of reading the evidence along with the characters, so I am intrigued to see if I will guess who the murderer is. But yeah, I've heard lots about this and people say it's generally pretty good. Janice Hallett has become a very popular crime writer in recent years, so I'm hoping I can enjoy this one. Next, we have Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. This is one I've read before. I read it on audiobook years ago now. This is one that I picked up because it was in like a 2 paperbacks for £1 deal, or it was 1 paperback for 99p. And so I was like, for an extra penny, I'm getting an extra book. And I thought I'd pick this up along with the other book I got, because yeah, I remember enjoying the audiobook, but at the same time I think I listened to it very quickly, and so there were certain stories that I didn't necessarily focus my attention on, but I think reading it physically I might get on better with it. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars when I first listened to it, but I think maybe this would be a better book to physically read, so I'd like to be able to physically read it. I also think it's one that my mum might enjoy, or that my mum and I could talk about. But yeah, I read this for a book club that I had a few years ago, and it was generally well received within book club. But I own another Bernardine Evaristo in this style, so I was quite glad that I found like this kind of paperback. This follows 12 different characters, and it's just like their everyday lives, and if I remember correctly, some of their stories intertwine with each other, or like there's a character who's the daughter in one story, and then we get her opinions on like her life and her mum, and then we get her mum later, and then like the friend of another character later. So it's, yeah, just their lives, their stories, who these people are. So yeah, just wanted to pick this one up. Then we have On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. This cover's beautiful for a start. I've heard so much about this author and how beautiful their writing is, so I really wanted to pick this one up. This book I have heard about, people say it's very emotional, and it says it's a letter from a son to a mother who cannot read, written when the speaker, Little Dog, is in his late 20s. The letter unearths a family history that began before he was born. It tells of Vietnam, of the lasting impact of war, and of his family's struggle to forge a new future. And it serves as a doorway into parts of Little Dog's life his mother has never known. Episodes of bewilderment, fear and passion, all the while moving closer to an unforgettable revelation. I've just heard so much about how beautiful Ocean Vuong's writing is, so I wanted to read it for myself, and I've heard good things about this book in particular. It's also quite short, so I'm hoping if the writing is very poetic and flowing, then I might be able to get through it quite quickly. So I'm excited to get to this. Last couple of books. We have Murder in the Family by Kara Hunter. This I just heard loads about because it's one of those crime thriller books that's really touting itself as like, you figure out who the killer is as you read along, sort of similar to The Appeal. And this sort of went viral, and I saw it advertised a lot and I was intrigued by it, but again didn't know that I wanted to pay full price for it, because a lot of thriller crime books like are a one-time read, and then, you know, sometimes a two-time read. Sometimes I like rereading thrillers and crime novels just to see if when you go back through like the whodunit stuff genuinely makes sense. But yeah, I'm intrigued by this one. So it says, December 2003, Luke Ryder was found dead in the garden of a family home, leaving behind a wealthy older widow and 3 stepchildren. Nobody saw anything. Now secrets will be revealed live on camera. Years later, a group of experts re-examine the evidence on a true crime show with shocking results. Does the team know more than they've been letting on, or does the truth lie closer to home? Can you solve the case before they do? The truth will blow your mind. And so, yeah, it's told in like script format with like cutouts from newspapers and things like that. So again, very multimedia. Yeah, I was interested, and it was cheap, so I got it. Lastly, we have Eileen by Ottessa Moshfegh. This, well, not specifically this, but Ottessa Moshfegh is an author I've wanted to read from for a while and just never got round to. But this is about a woman called Eileen who sort of becomes obsessed with this beautiful, charismatic woman, and it's just like, how far will Eileen go to like insert herself to watch this woman. I've heard Ottessa Moshfegh just writes really odd main characters who aren't likeable, and that her novels are all just a bit weird. So I was intrigued. Also, it looks like it's set in winter, and I bought it in winter. So that is it. That is everything. That's a lot of books. It is. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, I believe. 17 books. It's a lot, but I will read them. I will. What have you been hauling or reading recently? Let me know in the comments below. Have you read any of these? Are you excited for me to read any of these? I will see you soon with another video. Bye!